I'm so excited to introduce a yoga session that I think is really important for a population of people who are aging or just facing general memory challenges. So that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to do a yoga practice that is going to be beneficial for encouraging better sleep. With that in mind, we're going to do a little bit of stretching through our shoulders and our back and our legs to get the body kind of prepped and warmed up. But we're also going to work a little bit with our nervous system to use some deep breathing, a little bit of mindfulness to also prep the body. And what we know is that a nice, gentle, restorative yoga practice during the day can have really big benefits at night. Why might that be important for our community of people who are experiencing early stage memory loss? One of the things that we know is that good sleep has such a tie to cognition and memory. And the inverse of that is true, that when we lose sleep, when we wake up during the night, when we have those moments when we can't fall back asleep, that our memory, our focus, and our attention can be really affected by that. So we're going to turn a little bit of time today, just a little bit, maybe about 30 minutes of practice towards exploring some of these things so that when we sleep at night, we have restful, full, deep sleep. And one of the reasons that we want that is because we know from science and research that that deep sleep is also going to help us with memory consolidation. When we get deep sleep and those REM cycles, we're able to retain information a lot easier. So maybe it's your first time joining in a yoga class. Maybe you've had some experiences in some typical yoga studios. But the way we're going to adapt that in this sort of therapeutic setting today is to kind of specialize and get down into some of the nitty-gritty of the things that will help us directly. So we'll do a little bit of yoga, and you can see behind me that I've got a nice chair, a little bit of space around the chair where I'm not going to hit any walls or any friends. And my chair is nice and sturdy. It doesn't have any armrest, and it doesn't have any wheels on it. So that's going to be the only thing that you're going to need for our practice today. I'm going to invite you to have a seat if you are not already. And we're going to take our socks and shoes off. We always give the option here at CEP at Emory that if anything I offer doesn't work for you or your body, leave it behind. It's like a big buffet. Take the things that work for you and leave the rest behind. And I'll invite you to take your shoes off and place them to the side. But if that doesn't work for you, no problem. Your body is such a better teacher than anyone else. And we're going to take a little bit of time to kind of tune into some of that information that our body, our muscles, and the intelligence that it holds. So we're going to do a little bit of just starting out with feet on the floor. Yeah. Notice how you even set your feet on the floor. See if you can separate your feet about hip width distance apart, about as wide as the legs of your chair. And then sometimes the knees want to knock in or knock out, but see if you can also separate your knees about hip width distance apart to set all these bones and all these joints into a really neutral, supported place. Notice how you're sitting in your chair. You can even slide your hips up a little bit more towards the middle of your chair or the edge of your chair. And all of a sudden, we're recruiting some low back and belly muscles to sit up a little bit. We're going to work with our breath throughout practice today. Here at CEP, a lot of times we say your breath is the longest relationship that you'll ever be in, right? We come into this world on a breath, and it'll be the last thing that we leave with too. So we're going to cultivate a little bit of a relationship with just exploring and getting curious about the breath today, because we know when it slows down and smooths out, it can help a lot with things like racing thoughts or anxiety. So let's do that, starting out by just placing your feet flat on the floor. See if you can lift your toes up and down a few times. And then press all of your toes down into the texture of the floor below. Maybe you've got soft carpets. Maybe you've got some hardwood floors. Just notice with your attention what your feet are experiencing. And then keep them nice and still. Bring your arms alongside your body, and you might just kind of shake your arms and your shoulders out a little bit and just notice how your body's feeling today, especially your upper back, maybe your shoulders. And then bring your arms out to the side. Open up the spaces in between your fingers and point your palms forward. With a nice big breath in, stretch your arms up overhead to whatever the capacity for your shoulders is that feels appropriate. And exhale, pull your hands to trace all the way down your spine. Yeah. Let's do that a few times, just getting familiar with the breath. Inhale, stretch your arms up, taking good care of your shoulders here. Notice what they need. And exhale as you bring your hands all the way back down. Your arm circles and your breaths may be slower, they may be faster. Make them your own. As we get into this practice, we want to make our body a home to a little bit of kindness. So as we get into some of these movements and challenges today, the invitation is not to do anything that doesn't feel like it's welcome in the home of your body today. Maybe you get into some of the shoulder work or even some of the leg work and your body feels things like chronic pain or acute pain. There's some of those things that keep us from sleeping at night, right? We're going to invite a friendliness around when we notice those tight places or sore places. Not being harsh with ourselves and not bringing in any negative self-talk, especially when it comes to our body today. On your next inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. Take a big reach up and stretch through your fingers. Exhale, come all the way back down. Shake your wrist out. We want loose wrist and loose fingertips. We're going to go through all the major joints and get them nice and loose so that we might experience a little bit better sleep at night. And we know just a few, times a week of being mindful about our movement, getting the blood pumping can really have a big impact on sleep. See if you can interlace your fingers to the webbing and roll your wrist around a little bit, especially if you spent decades and decades on a computer, or if you have any tightness in your hands from things like arthritis. And gently release your hands down to the tops of your thighs. On your next inhale, shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Yeah, see how tall you can get your shoulders, almost like your shoulders want to kiss your ears. Take a big exhale out of your mouth with a sigh and let it go. Ooh, these breaths can release some of the pressure that builds up in our nervous system and in our body. Let's do a few more just like that. On your next inhale, see if you can breathe through your nose. If it's okay for your sinuses, take a big breath in through your nose. Exhale out of your mouth. Let your shoulders drop down. Two more, just like that. Inhale through your nose. Last one. Sometimes the pressure builds up throughout the week, and these big shoulder shrugs are a nice opportunity to let some of it drop down. Almost like you could let go of some of the energy that doesn't necessarily serve you anymore. Bring your hands to your hips or your sides. Point your elbows out to the side. Notice where your posture is at in space. Yeah. Some of us have a tendency, myself included, to sit like this, whether it's over a computer, book, or our iPads or telephones. Let's counterbalance that a little bit by coming up into a little bit more of a supported posture. Draw your shoulders and collarbones nice and broad. See if you can imagine stacking your head and your shoulders a little bit more above your hips. And that might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, maybe even unfamiliar. See if you can keep that really nice posture. And one more time, interlace your fingers to the webbing. And you might even stretch your palms forward a little bit. Straighten your arms to your capacity. Get that wrist and forearm stretch here. And this may be more than enough for your shoulders and your forearms, or if you're feeling up for it, you might even play around with stretching your arms up overhead, almost like that first stretch in the morning. Keep a little bit of attention in your legs and your toes, feet planted on the floor, nice and firm for stability and a little bit of balance. Take some of the pressure out of the back of your neck by lifting your chin out of your chest. And let's take 2 breaths here, even though it might be a little more difficult to breathe. Do you feel that expansion of your inhale coming in your chest or your belly? Exhale and release. Come all the way back to center. And coming back to our feet, you know, at the Cognitive Empowerment Program, we're always focused on a little bit of fall prevention. Ankle mobility is certainly a part of that. But a lot of us experience cramps in our legs, perhaps at night when we sleep. Sometimes knee issues can really pop up, or low back tightness, and we're going to work through a few things to address that. One at a time, come up onto your tippiest of toe. The lift of your heel may look very different than mine. There's no right or wrong answers or solutions in these movement-based practices. You can really accommodate anything you need. Keep it in mind that one leg may feel very different than the other side, and that's okay here. Yes, very nice. One more on each side. And then walk your feet out a little bit wider, maybe even slightly wider than hip width distance apart. And let's roll on to the outer and inner edges of our feet. Keep a little flex to your foot. You might even lift your toes up and spread them apart from one another as you windshield wiper your knees side to side, just to get a little bit of movement in your hips and low back. Yeah. See if you can bring that knee towards the center of your chair and then switch to the opposite side. You might even feel this in your IT band, maybe even in the tops of your knees a little bit. On your next inhale, come all the way back to center. And let's go ahead and lift those shoulders up one more time. This time, see if you can bring them back and down as we take a few shoulder rolls, just breaking up any tension or tightness that you might feel in your upper back, maybe even in the back of your neck. Yeah. Ooh, sometimes it is a little stiff back there. You might be surprised when you start moving things around to notice what you find. See if you can tune in to your shoulders. Maybe there's one shoulder that has a little different experience than the other side. And then let's do the opposite of those shoulder rolls. See if you can roll your shoulders forward a few times. And if you've ever had a shoulder that has been stuck or frozen, or a rotator cuff injury, you can really appreciate having as much mobility in these shoulders as you can. Yeah. One more roll forward. And then come all the way back to center. Stretch your left leg out in front of you. Rest your heel on the floor. Straighten your leg to your capacity. And let's do a little internal and external rotation in one leg. Yeah. See if you can almost windshield wiper your big toe from the left to the right, as much as feels like it's comfortable for your thigh and for your knees and ankle here. Yeah. Come all the way back to center, and let's do a few flex and points. See if you can point your big toe up towards the ceiling and then down towards the floor, like we're flattening out the top of your foot. Yeah. And switch. Slide your left foot back to meet your right. Stretch your right foot out in front of you. Straighten your knee to whatever feels best for your hamstrings. And let's do the same thing second side. Maybe these legs have taken you a lot of places in your life or accompanied with you through a lot of things, both the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. These legs have been with you. If you've ever had any blood clots in your legs or anything like that, we know that circulation in the legs is really important, especially when we sleep at night. So we're going to activate that a little bit. Come all the way back to center. Flex your big toe up towards the ceiling and then point a few times. Yes. Whatever range of motion feels best. You can even experiment and get a little creative if you like. You might notice as you flex and point that calf muscle starts to engage. And if you've got any sciatic nerve pain, you might experience it here if you've straightened your knee out as you lift your big toe up. But we're flossing the nerves a little bit here. We're trying to loosen up some of those nerves from getting stuck in the muscles. So this flexing and pointing with a straight-ish leg is a really good solution for that. Walk your feet all the way back to center. And this time, let's step our feet out to the side and back to center one at a time. Yes. This is one that you can use your hands in front of your knees to help a little bit. Oop, let me move these blocks out of the way. You can also use your hand behind the back of your thigh. Let's switch out left to right a few times, almost like we're stepping over a cat in the house or a little curb on the sidewalk. Your leg lift may look a lot different than mine. And there's always an option to slide that foot out to the side and back to center if that is what works best for you. Yeah. So find the version that works best. We'll continue for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come all the way back to center. And this time, go ahead and walk your feet back out to that little bit wider stance. Maybe heel toe your feet out a little bit wider than hip width distance apart. Yeah, as wide as is comfortable for your inner thighs and outer hips here. Turn your big toes out towards your pinky toes. Bring your hands to the tops of your legs or thighs. Notice your posture even here. See if you can recruit some of those low belly muscles to help support your back and sit up nice and tall. Even here, bring your head back over your shoulders. Inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. Exhale back to center. Keep your toes planted on the floor for stability. 2 more, just like that. Inhale, reach up. You might already feel that extra challenge in your outer thighs as they start to activate here. Exhale down. Last one. Inhale, come all the way back up. This time, reach up. Exhale all the way back down. Walk your feet back in, hip width distance apart. Bring your hands to the tops of your knees. Take a big breath in and lift your chest up. I'm going to turn to the side just so you can see a little bit more of the curvature of my spine here. With your tall back, sit up nice and tall. And we're going to work through a little bit of spinal movements here. We're going to work into a rounded spine. Round your back. Drop your chin down towards your chest. Now, for some of us, coming into a super rounded position may not be what's best for those who have anything like compressed disc or a little herniated disc or anything like that. And if you feel like this is a little too much for your spine to get really nice and round, you might just drop up to a neutral spine and tuck your chin into your chest and just take the neck stretch instead. Otherwise, you might imagine rounding from the top of your spine through the middle of your spine, and even down to your little bottom of your spine at the tip of your tailbone, like you could tuck your tail underneath you like a dog that just got in trouble. On your next inhale, come all the way back up to that neutral spine. Yeah. Slide your hands back to your hips. And instead of pointing your elbows out to the side, see if you can pull your elbows towards the wall or the chair behind you. Yeah, you might already notice that big stretch across the front of your chest, right across your collarbones. You can stay just like this, or you might lift your chin up and bring that arch all the way into the back of your neck. See if you can squeeze your elbows towards one another, and you might even notice a little squeeze of the bottom tips of your shoulder blades here, what we call sometimes the back of the heart. Exhale, slide your hands to your knees, round your back to your capacity. Tuck your chin down towards your chest. Inhale, slide your hands to your hips. Pull your elbows back. Lift your chin to arch. Exhale, and we'll just move through a few rounds of these big changes in our spine, just working a little bit of movement in between each vertebrae. You may have something that your body is calling you to do as an alternative or even as a variation of what we're seeing on the screen, so feel free to make it your own. Exhale, chin to chest, hands to knees. Inhale, arch your back, shoulders back, chin up. Last round. Yeah, we're really feeling a little change in the spine at this point. Notice what you can sense. One more time. Hands to knees, round your back. Drop your chin down towards your chest. Take 1 or 2 breaths here. These slower, deeper breaths can bring some physiological changes, like lowering the heart rate, reducing the respiratory rate, and that's really going to help our body get primed for a better night's rest, but also train our lungs and our diaphragm to be in the practice of deep breathing. I always say deep breathing is one of those things. We can read about it, we can write about it, we can learn about it, but it's just like riding a bike. It really doesn't train anything unless we get on and try it out a little bit. So we'll do that. Whatever works for you is good work here. See if you can lift your chest up and come to a little bit more of a supported posture. And we are recruiting those muscles that maybe we are not using when we're sitting like this to kind of find a little bit more support here. But you can imagine when you sit up nice and tall, there's also a lot more room for your lungs and your diaphragm to expand and contract. So we're going to do that, just noticing the expansion and the contraction of the next few breaths. See if you can bring one hand to the center of your chest. And you've got some options here. You can either stack both hands on your chest, or if it's comfortable, you can bring one hand down to your belly or your low ribs. Keeping your good posture, stay nice and still and supported. But you might look down towards the floor or even close your eyes to start to turn your attention towards your breath. By closing your eyes or looking down and paying attention to your breathing, you're taking a moment to take your focus away from all the things that happen outside of your body throughout the day, to turn your attention to some of the things that are happening inside your body and inside the own experience that you have of the muscles moving and contracting and expanding. See if you can start out by just noticing the nice movement that you might feel as you breathe in deeply. And as you exhale, you might sense that little bit of falling or a contraction in your rib cage or your spaces right underneath your palms. Take a few deeper breaths in and out. And notice any changes that you might feel in the space in between your ribs, in the lift of your chest or your belly up into your palms. And if your attention gets distracted and wants to go to other things, as many times as you need to, just bring your attention back to your breath and start over. One more big breath in and out, just like that. Exhale, gently release your hands down to the tops of your thighs, and you might already notice a slight shift. Bring your hands to your hips again. Find your good posture. Stretch your left arm up overhead. Reach up through your fingertips, and on your exhale, lean over to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale to side stretch. Big breath in to reach up. Exhale and notice if you feel all that stretching on the left side. Keep moving with your breath just like this. And if you've been having some low back issues and any sort of SI joint dysfunction, this is a really good one to stretch those places right on the right side of your body in your low back, where your low back and your hips meet. One more, just like that on this side. Exhale to reach. Maybe hold here for 1 or 2 breaths in and out. Inhale, come all the way back up. Exhale and release. You might feel a little tingling or a little numbing in that hand after even just one stretch on that side. And you can see with arms up overhead that our heart has to pump all that blood up to our fingertips and back again. So really good cardiac work, even though it may not feel like it. Bring your left hand to your left hip, and this time, inhale, stretch your right arm up overhead. Straighten your arm to your capacity. Exhale to the side. Inhale back up. Exhale, stretch your right low back. Let's do a few more just like that. You can always take breaks if you need to. You can always take a rest. You can always come back to it. And you can always change what you're doing if it doesn't work for you. Giving ourselves the grace to accommodate for change and challenges is part of this mindfulness work. Notice the moments if you get harsh with yourself or frustrated. You might invite in a deep breath, a little kindness, especially directed at yourself. The next time you come all the way to the side, reach and hold maybe for 1 or 2 breaths here. Notice how your feet and the strength of your belly keep you stable. Press your belly or press your toes into the floor. Pull your belly in. Inhale back up. Exhale and release. Whew. Maybe you even already feel the blood pumping and a little, maybe even heat is happening inside of your shirt like it is mine. See if you can keep your feet on the floor. And we're going to get a little blood pumping through the legs here. Come up onto your tippy toes or move your feet as fast as you can like we're sprinting. And we want to have our legs be able to lift our feet up by using the strength of all 4 of these quadricep muscles. There's some research I ran into a few weeks ago that says, if you have strong quadricep muscles in your upper legs, that the life expectancy that you have is correlated to be much higher. And you can imagine why, especially when it comes to fall prevention. Bring your feet down flat to the floor again. On your next inhale, come up onto your right tippy toe. And then to your left. Yeah. 1 or 2 more, just like that. One more time, walk your feet out to a wide stance. As wide as you can comfortably without straining your inner thighs or outer hips. Keep your knees widening out in the direction of your pinky toes. Inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. Exhale, let your hands come out in front of you and dangle towards the floor like a rag doll. You might just stay here and drop your chin towards your chest, or you might lower down a little bit more, whatever feels like it's best for your back. And feel free not to lower your back at all if it's intense or painful. Just drop your chin towards your chest and let your arms ragdoll down. See if you can even relax some of the muscles in your face. Maybe you've been holding on to a lot of expressions in your face, places like the wrinkle across your eyebrow or the furrow across your eyebrow that you can release here. You might even feel like loosening up your jaw a little bit here with it hanging forward. On your next inhale, press into your feet. Stretch your arms up overhead. Exhale back down. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Walk your feet back, hip width distance apart. Using your hands either in front of your knee, behind your thigh, or just recruiting the muscles in the legs and back. Inhale and pull your right knee up for a little, almost like a little stretch here right in your hip flexor. And your foot may not lift as much as mine. That's totally fine. Lift your foot to whatever your capacity is, and then try to adjust your back to sit up tall again. Let your shoulders drop down away from your ears and release. Whew, very nice. Feel free to adjust and accommodate if one side feels different than the other. Inhale, lift your left leg up, knee towards your chest. We can stay here, hand to thigh. We can even interlace fingers in front of knee as you pull your knee in towards your chest. Release and switch. This time, again, foot can stay close to the floor or whatever we need here. Sit up nice and tall, lengthen the back of your neck, and you can stay here or you can roll your ankle a few times in one direction. And switch. Last round, pull your left knee in towards your chest. Stay here or roll your ankle around in a few circles in one direction. And release. All right, very nice here. We're going to add a few of the puzzle pieces together that we've been working on in these next few last poses of our practice. Start out with your feet hip width distance apart again. Yeah, very familiar. We've been here. On your next inhale, this time lift your right leg up and step it over to the side. If that doesn't work to you, just slide your right foot to the right. And we're going to come up onto that right tippy toe. Feel free to lower your heel to the floor at any time or take that option out. With your hands on your hips, take a big breath in and lift your chest like you're very proud of your last accomplishment. Inhale, stretch your arms out to a T. Bend your left elbow 90 degrees. Take a big breath in and lift your chest. Exhale and either lower your left hand or your left forearm to the top of that left thigh. Inhale, stretch your right arm up. Stay here or reach your arm over to the left. Is your right heel still lifted? The answer could be no. Keep your left foot planted on the floor for stability. As you inhale, come all the way back up. Exhale, feet to the floor. Step your right foot back to that hip width distance. This time, inhale, left leg goes up and out to the side. Come up onto your left tippy toe here. Inhale, arms to a T. Taking our crescent warrior, take a big breath in and lift your chest proudly. Exhale, bend your left elbow 90 degrees and lower your forearm or palm to the top of that left thigh. Stretch your right arm up. Stay here or reach it over to the left. Imagine breathing into the right side of your rib cage here. Almost like the expansion of that inhale could open up and stretch some of the spaces in between those right ribs. If you've got any strain on the back of your neck, lift your chin out of your chest and take some of that strain out of it. Notice what your body needs to be comfortable. Inhale back up. Exhale, feet flat to the floor. Walk your feet back in side by side. Yeah, roll your shoulders out a few times. That was really good work. We're going to add a little neck stretch in before the next posture. This is really good for those of you who have, that good old pain in the neck. A lot of times it's this leaning forward that can be contributing to that. We know that every inch forward you get with that chin, it's almost like another 10 pounds being added to the weight of your head. Imagine pulling your chin back a few inches to take some of that pressure out of the back of your neck. Very nice. Here we go. CEP classic here. Bring your hand to your hip. Tone your belly and sit up nice and tall. With your next inhale, lift your left knee to hover. And you can stretch your leg out to hover on the air or in the air in front of you, or you can rest your heel on the floor. You choose what works, but either way, flex your foot. Inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. Exhale, reach your hands forward. Continue to breathe for 3, 2, 1, and release. We feel those quad muscles now, don't we? Same thing, second side, reset. Give yourself some words of encouragement here. We're almost at the end. On your next inhale, pull your right knee up. Stay here or stretch your right foot out to hover. Feel free to lower your heel to the floor. Inhale, arm circle up. Exhale to reach. Drop your shoulders down and stay full in your breath. Feel free to change your mind with what your body needs, but keep the breath coming. One more, just like that. Exhale and let it go. Slide your hips back so that you're really resting in your chair. Get nice and comfortable. You can even cross your ankles or rest your feet flat on the floor. You choose. One more time before we leave, stack your hands either over your chest or your belly. Get really comfortable with your backrest behind you if you can. And let's just take one more moment to turn our attention back towards the breath. Let your breath breathe itself as you invite in a slower, smoother, perhaps even a deeper breath. We might take a moment just to let go of any unnecessary tension that you notice in your body. You might soften your shoulders down away from your ears. Maybe even loosen up the muscles of your belly so your belly hangs nice and full here. Giving a little bit more room for the breath to stretch out. With your hands on your chest or your belly, wherever they're at, take a moment to send a little bit of gratitude to your body and your breath, whatever it was capable of doing and moving today. See if you can just acknowledge that comfort of dropping into your body, into this present moment. This present moment is one thing that a memory loss cannot steal away from us. In this moment, right now, wherever you're at, maybe there's some words of encouragement that you've been needing to hear. You might imagine offering those words to yourself the same way a good friend or a coach would acknowledge and support you. What words of loving kindness might you offer yourself today? On your next inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. Take a big reach up through your fingertips. Stretch through your spine like that first stretch in the morning. On your exhale, bring your hands all the way back through center. Plant your feet flat on the floor and start to rub your hands together until you'll feel a little bit of heat from the friction between your palms. Closing your eyes, cup your palms over your eyelids and blink a few times. Notice the heat from your hands. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be kind to myself. May I accept myself as I am. Exhale and gently release. It's such a pleasure to come together to practice. What we know is that each practice adds up, one drop in the bucket at a time. But these little practices, turning towards a little relaxation, a little bit of mindfulness, and using movement as medicine, we also know can help be one of the tools in your toolboxes to help reduce sleep disturbances, improve cognition, to help with some of those stress responses that happen in the body, and to give us a nice, good foundation for good rest so we can be our best cognitively for the day ahead.